Isn't it amazing how the weather has changed and how much more fall it feels? I don't know where you are, but I'm in Pennsylvania and the leaves are changing colors. The breeze, the coolness of the air, the crispness in the morning just gets me into fall spirit. How about you? And so today we're going to do some pumpkin. I had about 3 big neck pumpkins, and so I needed to cook those and can or freeze the pumpkin if I was going to be able to use it soon. So if you have ever cooked a whole pumpkin, let me know in the comments. I would love to know. It's not as hard as you may think it is. If you need some help with that, let me know, because I know some stores are maybe out of pumpkin. It might feel like there's a shortage of pumpkin. There's no shortage of pumpkin here. There are so many pumpkins everywhere. All the farmers have so many. At the auction I go to, there's at all the farmers markets I go to, there's so many pumpkins. And so what I did, if you have never canned a pumpkin or even cooked a whole pumpkin and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I even cook this? If you have an Instant Pot, it's the fastest and the best way. I get the neck pumpkin. I feel like it is more of a, I don't know, it's a mild pumpkin, put it that way. The regular round orange jack-o'-lanterns are great too. It can be a little more stringy. It just depends on what pumpkin you're going after. And as you notice, the cans of pumpkin, some of them are different color, some of them are darker, lighter, and that's the same way with the neck pumpkin. And so what I did, I cut the neck up because it's like a big ball at the end with the neck on it. I cut the neck, I think, in 3 different places, and I put a cup of water in my Instant Pot and threw those neck pieces in there and put it on for 10 minutes. Are you ready for this? 10 minutes. Amazing. That's how I do my spaghetti squash and all of that. And so when it was done, I released the pressure, got it out, and I cut it in half so it can cool. Once it was cool, either you can take a spoon or whatever mechanism you have to take all that pulp right off the skin, because I don't peel it before either, because save yourself that hard work. So I just took that pulp off, put it in a big bowl, and then I blend it in my blender. You guys want to see this? This is my amazing pumpkin that I just blended in the blender. This is 100% pure pumpkin. And so I don't know if you can see, I got a big bowl. What if I get away? I got a big bowl and then my blender. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to put those in little pint jars. And so it's 2 cups of pumpkin. Most times that's what a recipe calls for, especially if you're doing pumpkin pie. And then I'm going to can it. If you have never canned something before, reach out to me. I would be more than happy to do a video for you, share with you how you can do it. It's pretty easy, honestly. So, but since I got some fresh pumpkin, we're going to make some pumpkin cupcakes today. How about it? How many of you love cheesecake? I mean, woohoo, right? Cheesecake is amazing, but sometimes that can be daunting too. You may feel like you don't have time to do cheesecake. It takes too much time. You don't have a cheesecake pan. You don't know how to water bath it in the oven, or it always cracks for you. All kinds of excuses and ways that it can go wrong. I hear you. I understand. But these are little cupcakes. So delicious and easy. Are you ready for this? So we're going to first start with 1 cup of pumpkin, which I got it measured out here. So we're going to do 1 cup of pumpkin, and let me grab a spatula. I have my oven on, heating up, so that is warming up for us. And then I got my eggs. Oh, you know what? I'm always forgetting to put my hair back. I have my tie here, so I don't forget. And, you know, I still forget until I go to do something. So we're going to take our mixer, and we're going to put in our eggs. 2 eggs into our pumpkin, and we're going to mix that all together. And yes, these are going to be gluten-free, sugar-free cupcakes. I mean, is that not even better yet? If you have never made anything gluten-free or sugar-free, again, it is not as hard as we may think it is. There's so many recipes out there, but what I love to do, because, well, I love cooking and baking, and so I'm here to share with you these recipes, and you know they're tried and proven. You know that they're great, because I don't cook anything that I won't eat myself, okay? So we got our pumpkin and our eggs in there, and we're just going to mix that together. Next, we're going to do our 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And if you're not a baker, baking powder and baking soda is in powder form, and you can find it in every baking aisle in the grocery store. So it's 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Oh, baking powder, sorry, baking powder. And 1 teaspoon of baking soda, I just saw that. And there is a difference. Everyone says, you know, do we have to have both? Yes, some recipes call for both. One is a rising agent, and I forget what baking soda does, but anyway, they are necessary in both. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of cinnamon as well. And again, you can do whatever cinnamon you have on hand. It does call for a little bit of pumpkin spice. I don't do the pumpkin spice. I prefer just cinnamon in my pumpkin pies and things like that as well. And we're going to do half a teaspoon of vanilla. It's almost a teaspoon. That doesn't matter, right? And then we're going to do 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Let me find my tablespoon measurement. 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and this is something different. I don't know that I've ever done vinegar in my pumpkin cupcakes before, but hey, I'm all for it. I've made these before, but it's like a year or so probably, and that's often you know, why we forget how something tastes. And so we got the baking soda, vinegar, and xanthan gum. When most recipes, when you are doing something gluten-free, may call for xanthan gum. Again, this is probably in the baking aisle or at your local Walmart or something. They often have a specialty section, like in the baking section, where they have all these different gluten-free options. And xanthan gum is what I like to use to thicken my gravies and things like that too. It's just a thickener because you're not having that extra gluten. So I'm going to mix this in a while so we're not getting too much before we mix the powder or the flour in there, okay? So I'm just going to mix that all up a little bit. All right. Now we're going to do a half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of salt. There we go. And it does call for maple syrup, but I don't know that I'm going to put that in there because I'm going to do I did the vanilla. And should you want this recipe, just put recipe in the comments and I'll get this to you. So we got the salt, we got the vanilla, and now we're going to do the sweetener. And again, I use my sugar-free sweetener. Oh my gosh, this is like bubbling up from the vinegar and baking soda. Did you ever see that reaction? Oh my, this is awesome. So if you want my sweetener recipe, just put sweetener in the comments as well, and I'll put you my gluten-free option of my sweetener. There we go. And what else do we need? Oh, coconut oil. And again, if you've never done anything with coconut oil, it's like solid. So you have to melt it. It called for 1/4 of a cup. So I melted that in the microwave a little bit. And we're gonna put that in there. I'm gonna stir that around too because I don't want, oh, it does call for coconut flour. I thought I read everything. You know, if you've been to any of my cooking demos before, you know I am not a perfect chef. I just cook in my kitchen just like you would, and I make mistakes just the same. Okay, so I gotta grab my coconut flour. But I got almond flour here. And a lot of times I don't even do the coconut flour because, well, coconut flour is a little tricky. But this has both in there, and it's going to actually level it out a little more, and it's not going to be quite as dry. Coconut flour is very difficult to work with. It really is dry, so you always want to try a recipe that has more than just coconut flour in it, because I feel it's a much better option. So let me grab my coconut flour. And yes, I do keep all my stuff in big tubs so bugs and things don't get in it. And so we're going to measure out a fourth of a cup, right? Fourth of a cup of coconut flour. Yep. Whew, I almost thought I messed up. Coconut flour, almond flour, coconut oil. That's why I got messed up. And then whey protein. And again, I just use whatever whey protein we have on hand. My husband often puts it in his smoothies. So we're going to put our whey protein in there. So these are very, a lot more on the healthier side. Has that pure pumpkin in there, has whey protein in there. So you could probably have these for breakfast, right? No one's going to judge. So we're going to just mix this flour in there. All right. Okay, we got that all mixed together. Pretty easy to do. And again, if you don't have a hand mixer, you can do it in a stand mixer or just whip it up by hand as well. So let's make sure we have everything. We got the pumpkin, the eggs, the baking powder, cinnamon, baking soda, vinegar, xanthan gum, salt, pumpkin spice, which I didn't do the pumpkin spice, vanilla, the sweetener, coconut oil, almond flour, coconut flour, and the whey protein. Sounds pretty awesome, right? So now we're going to take our lined cupcake liners. Let me put this to the side here so you can see. And I like to use a scoop. Now, you can just pour it in there, but I use a 2 tablespoon scoop. That way I know that they're all going to get the same size. And we're going to do 2 tablespoons because we're also going to put 1 tablespoon of the cream cheese mixture on the top of here. So it's going to be all together, it's going to be 3 tablespoons. Normally for a cupcake, I will use a 3 tablespoon cupcake or scoop. But for something like this, I'm going to add an extra tablespoon of cream cheese, so it's going to be 3 tablespoons altogether, so they're going to get the same size after all, okay? So that's 1 pan, and I got a little bit more in there. I may not need all these liners in this one because it looks like my batter is maybe going to do another 4 or 5, so let's see here. I'll put that to the side. So we're going to, again, do the same thing, just measure out. And that's why I like using a scoop, because number one, you can make sure you get the same amount in each one. And it might do 6. Ooh, yes. Okay, let me use my spatula and scrape this down. I might get my 7th one out of it if I scrape it, okay? So what is your favorite way to eat pumpkin? Do you like pumpkin pie, pumpkin bars? What is your, it's a little skimpy, but oh well, that means I can eat that one right away, okay? Let me wash my hands here. And I know in Canada, some people are celebrating Thanksgiving this weekend. In US, our Thanksgiving is next month, which I can't wait, right? So now we're going to set this to the side again. And we're going to make the cream cheese mixture. And this is going to take a 4-ounce thing of cream cheese. Let me grab another spatula. A 4-ounce thing of cream cheese. And I like to make sure it's softened because it's going to mix so much better. And I know there's really no need to clean off your beaters if you don't want to, because guess what? It's going to go right on top of what you're doing already. So it's not going our cream cheese and our egg. We're going to do 1 egg in that. And we're going to mix that up, and then we're going to put our sweetener in there. I'm going to stir down the sides while I'm blending. You want to get this nice and creamy, so it's a little on the creamier side. So it may need to blend a little bit extra. And I'm going to put in my sweetener. All right, there we go. And yes, that was a powdered sweetener. I take my sugar-free sweetener. What I use is erythritol, xylitol, and stevia together. And I just feel like that gets me the best baked product that is healthier option. If you have another sweetener, and it calls for a half a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just going to pour a little bit in there, you know. And then we're going to, sounds like somebody's here. Huh. Oh, yes. There is a truck backing out my lane. I got a pretty long lane, and he was backing out my lane. So, all right, so we just mixed that vanilla in by hand, okay? Not going to hurt it at all. So now we have our vanilla, cream cheese, egg, and, oh, our chocolate chips. And my sugar-free chocolate chips I get, you can get these at Walmart. They're the Lily's semi-sweet baking chips. And I never put in as many as it calls for because, well, these stretch quite a ways. Number one, you know, they are a little bit more potent. And so this calls for a half a cup. And I don't know how many is in here. It might be a fourth a cup. It's not that many, but that's going to be okay. It's going to be actually perfect because, again, you don't need a lot because they kind of go a long ways. So you always want to make sure when you are scooping this out that you're going to get a chocolate chip in each cupcake, okay? So now, if you can see, I'm going to take my 1 tablespoon scoop, and I'm going to take a tablespoon of this cheesecake mixture. Oh, so amazing. And I'm just going to put this right on top of the batter that you got in your bowl. And you're going to bake this. And that cheesecake pumpkin stuff is it's gonna like marry together, right? It's gonna be so freaking delicious that, yeah, it's like my favorite. So we're just gonna do a little bit more on top of these. And again, you can make these ahead of time, especially for Thanksgiving. If you are pressed for time and you got family coming over, there we go. If you got family coming over, something like this is something easy that you can bake ahead of time and freeze it, especially if somebody is gluten-free or sugar-free. You can freeze it and then get it out the day before, and it's going to be like you just baked it that day. Super awesome to plan ahead for Thanksgiving. That way you don't feel so overwhelmed. All right, so there we go. There are the cupcakes that we're going to put them in the oven and bake for about 15 minutes, and then they're going to be done. All I have to do is store those in a sealed container and freeze them, or frankly, we're just going to be eating them. But that was everything from scratch. That was so easy, right? Again, should you have any questions, please reach out. I am more than willing to help you with anything. So again, if you want the recipe, put recipe below. If you want my sweetener, put sweetener below. And I will be looking forward to chatting with those of you that are going to watch this on the replay. Take care and enjoy your Sunday afternoon.